The bankers of Babylon. They called it Babylon, a code name whisper among global bankers for a network so vast it made nations look small. But in the beginning, it was just a spreadsheet. A simple Excel file that landed on the desk of Clara Hensley, a mid-level forensic compliance officer at Lockhart and Stone LLP, a boutique auditing firm in London. It was titled Client Reconciliation Report Restricted. Inside were transaction entries between 5 major banks, none of which had been directly transacted with one another under international compliance laws. But the most unusual part wasn't the amounts. It was the frequency. Hundreds of transfers, identical in pattern, repeating every 48 hours, always through a sequence of offshore intermediaries. Cayman Trust 07, Viridian Holdings, Malta, Satora Bank, Dubai, Banque d'Avalon, Zurich. The amounts varied. 12 million pounds here, 8 million pounds there. But the structure was exact. Too clean to be random. Clara noticed something else. Each transaction contained a metadata tag labeled B17. When she asked her supervisor about it, he frowned. Don't dig too deep, Clara. That's above our scope. Just verify the compliance documents. But Clara wasn't the type to ignore anomalies. She'd spent years working in forensic audit for the Serious Fraud Office before joining private practice. To her, patterns were puzzles, and this one was screaming for attention. She pulled historical data from Lockhart's archives, tracing similar client reconciliations across different years. The pattern appeared again with the same code, B17. When she cross-referenced it against the firm's project registry, there was no corresponding case file. It was a ghost account, a client that didn't officially exist. That night, she decrypted the embedded metadata in the spreadsheet. It revealed a hidden note, Babylon Node 3 active. It wasn't a transaction tag. It was an operational marker. Clara realized she had stumbled onto something that went far beyond her firm's routine audits. The next day, she quietly reached out to an old contact, David Kwan, a digital forensic analyst now working with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, in the U.S. She sent him redacted samples, asking if he recognized a pattern. An hour later, her secure line rang. Clara, where did you get this? Kwan's voice was tense. These tags, they match a dormant pattern we flagged 5 years ago. Codename Babylon. It was classified. You need to stop what you're doing. But Clara couldn't. The deeper she dug, the clearer the picture became. Babylon was a global shadow banking network, a financial ecosystem that moved illicit funds for governments, oligarchs, and multinational corporations under guise of legitimate transfers. The structure was elegant. Every transaction passed through a chain of legal entities in compliant jurisdictions. Each firm signed off another's paperwork, creating an illusion of legitimacy. By the time money reached its destination, it was scrubbed clean, tax-free, untraceable, and technically legal. Lockhart and Stone wasn't alone. Across the world, dozens of small compliance firms were unknowingly validating the system's paperwork. They were the priests of Babylon, sanctifying its sins. When Claire attempted to escalate the matter internally, her firm's director, Sir Malcolm Rowan, called her in. He poured a glass of scotch, offering a weary smile. Clara, you're bright. Too bright. But you don't understand how the world works. Babylon isn't a crime. It's the architecture of global finance. Don't mistake the system for corruption. They're the same thing. She left the meeting shaken. That night, she received an encrypted email from an unknown sender. If you're serious about exposing Babylon, meet me at 11:30 p.m. Charing Cross Station. Platform 6. Curiosity outweighed fear. At the dimly lit platform, she met Elias Navarro, a disillusioned former investment banker from Geneva. He handed her a USB drive. This contains access keys to Node 0, the main server in Zurich. Babylon isn't just about money. It's a control mechanism. They fund wars, elections, corporations. The system balances chaos. When Clara asked who they were, Elias replied simply, "You'll know them when they erase you." Days later, Elias disappeared. His apartment was found ransacked. Swiss police called it a burglary. Clara knew better. Using the access keys, she and David Kwan remotely accessed a mirror of the Zurich server. What they found defied comprehension. Over $9 trillion in rotating capital, distributed across 112 jurisdictions, massed behind trust companies, humanitarian NGOs, and sovereign investment vehicles. Among the beneficiaries were names of active politicians, defense contractors, and financial regulators. Even former central bank officials appeared on the ledger. The revelation shook them. Babylon wasn't just laundering money, it was shaping nations. When Clara tried to contact international regulators, her firm abruptly terminated her contract. Her professional licenses were suspended pending misconduct review. The message was clear. She'd been marked. Meanwhile, Kwan reported a security breach at FinCEN. His access to Babylon-related data was revoked, and his system credentials locked. They decided to go public. Through an encrypted network, they contacted a whistleblower collective known as the Third Ledger, a group of investigative journalists and former auditors specializing in exposing hidden finance. Together, they prepared what will become one of the most explosive data leaks in modern history, the Babylon Files. Released in early 2024, the files detailed over 57,000 transactions, implicating 43 major banks and 9 sovereign states in systematic global money laundering. The fallout was immediate and violent. Several journalists connected to the leak vanished. Offices of the Third Ledger were raided in Brussels and Singapore. The official narrative was data theft and espionage. Within weeks, Babylon adapted. The same entities that were exposed began rebranding under new holding names. A global crisis was avoided, not through justice, but through silence. Forensic investigators across continents worked frantically to validate the files. Independent audits confirmed at least $2.3 trillion of transactions were verifiable and connected to legitimate institutions. International hearings began at The Hague, but as one European parliamentarian whispered to the press, "You cannot prosecute the world's bankers without collapsing the world economy." Meanwhile, Clara and Kwan lived under constant threat. Their communications were monitored, their bank accounts frozen. They moved between safe houses coordinated by a network of investigative allies. During one such relocation, Clara found a handwritten note slipped under her door. The system doesn't crash. It recalibrates. She realized Babylon was never just a conspiracy. It was the operating system of global finance, a self-correcting network of money, power, and influence that survived every scandal because it was a foundation. Months later, Clara testified anonymously before a closed session of the European Banking Authority, providing encrypted copies of the Zurich server's archives. Her testimony led to quiet resignations in multiple central banks, though no public charges were filed. The Babylon Files faded from headlines, replaced by political distractions and celebrity scandals. But within forensic audit circles, the story became legend, a whisper reminder that even auditors have limits when the truth threatens the economy itself. In 2025, Clara disappeared while traveling to Lisbon to meet a former colleague. Her last encrypted message to Kwan read, "They found a new node. Babylon isn't gone, it's evolving." Kwan, now operating under an alias, continues the work. In private briefings to trusted institutions, he presents a chilling conclusion. Every time you move money, Babylon takes a fraction. Every digital transaction feeds a machine. It no longer needs bankers, only algorithms. To this day, no one knows who truly controls the remaining Babylon nodes. Some say they're autonomous AIs built by central banks decades ago to stabilize global markets. Others believe in a consortium of private financiers using quantum cryptography to stay ahead of detection. Whatever the truth, one fact remains undeniable. The world's financial system runs on faith, and faith can be forged. In ancient Babylon, money wasn't just currency, it was control. Temples held gold, kings wrote ledgers, and priests guarded secrets. Thousands of years later, the names have changed, but the ritual remains. The bankers of Babylon still rule, not with swords or armies, but with spreadsheets, signatures, and silence. Moral and call to action. The true danger corruption isn't in the theft of money. It's in the theft of truth. The bankers of Babylon exposes how systems built to protect wealth can be weaponized to enslave it. Forensic audit isn't just about numbers. It's about accountability in a world that hides its sins in code. As citizens, we must demand transparency, not as privilege, but as a right.